Welcome back everybody, and greetings to anyone new to the channel. Thanks to YouTube's community section on the channel now, I put up a poll for which video you would all like to see next. I am pleased to announce the winner is a new advanced PvP guide. So for today's video, I present to you my advanced guide on the Gunbreaker, since it quite recently received a very nice buff. If you're visiting the channel for the first time and would like to see more PvP guides in the future, consider subscribing. And thanks again to everyone for helping me get 300 recently. Next up, the 400 mark. And without further ado, let's get into it. To date, we currently have 4 tanks within the game, the most iconic of course being the Paladin. Inside of PvP, what they lack in physical damage, they more than make up for in defensive skills. Paladins are the king of stall, with an ultimate making them invulnerable for 10 seconds. A Paladin can also rush to the aid of their team, to guard any party members and take any damage they would in their stead, or if combined with their ultimate, for the next 10 seconds, creating 2 immortal characters. Next up, we have the Dark Knight. The complete opposite to the Paladin. What they lack in defensive skills, they more than make up for in their offensive skills. Amazing at diving into battle, able to pull the enemy team closer together for any team follow-up. Dark Knight's classic skill, Blackest Night, also made it into the PvP scene, negating damage on yourself or a selected teammate. And your ultimate, when activated, can deal a very nice chunk of damage. This will also grant you immortality for 10 seconds, similar to the Paladin, with the difference being you shall instantly be dropped to 1 HP. You can continue to take damage, but you are unable to drop below that 1 for the duration. Any damage you deal during the ult will heal you. Dark Knight's kit has allowed him to become an ideal class when it comes to stalling, allowing respawning teammates to rejoin the fight, while you yourself hold down the objective. Warriors are without a doubt the scariest tank around. This Adderall snorting wild child will be full sprinting at a full stack of 5, no fucks given. Low on the defensive side, instead focusing on damage and self-sustain. The warrior can very quickly go from 10% HP to 100% in a blink of an eye. They will very quickly close the gap, mass stun, and then drink the bone marrow from your supports before the objective is even unlocked. But what truly makes them fears incarnate is their ultimate, increasing their health on activation, alongside making them immune to all CC effects. They are currently the only job capable of this. They will gain inner release, granting access to spam off their fell cleaves for high damage, and boosting their mass stun for even more additional damage. So where does the Gunbreaker fit into all of this? Well, firstly, thanks to their recent buff, out of the 4 tanks, a successful ultimate from a Gunbreaker is by far the most devastating to the enemy team. And what makes the Gunbreaker truly unique is your draw and junction, essentially granting you one of 3 stances, based on whether you targeted a tank, a DPS, or a support. Choosing tank will give you access to Nebula, a defensive skill. Choosing DPS will grant you Blasting Zone, a high damaging and instacast skill. And choosing support will unlock a healing ability called Aurora, that can be placed on either yourself or a teammate, healing for a decent amount while also applying regen. Combining any one of these with the Gunbreaker's already DPS-like damage will allow for you to control battles. The Gunbreaker is also very good at outdueling the other tanks, burning them of all their MP and their defensive cooldowns with ease. When it comes to ultimate usage, in my opinion, none is more crucial than the Gunbreakers. You could argue Samurai, but oftentimes a Samurai will only have 1 to 2 ults in a match, whereas Gunbreakers have one of the fastest limit gauge charge times, which means upon reaching ultimate, you want to be planning on how to use in the current or the next fight. Jobs that thrive on long drawn out battles can be easily countered with a single good ultimate use, weakening the damage they deal by 4% per stack up to a maximum of 20%, while also increasing the damage they take by 4%, also up to a maximum of 20%. You can be the sole reason team battles are over within seconds, which is amazing in Crystalline Conflict, as winning battles fast gives you and your team an early advantage, and a higher chance to keep a steamroll going. Before ulting, I recommend switching your junction, if possible, to the tank to unlock Nebula. Should you not have a tank to copy, choose the healer for the regen. However, in the higher ranks, using your ultimate to its fullest potential becomes much more difficult. So oftentimes it's worth switching to the DPS junction to combine a portion of the ultimate with Double Down and Blasting Zone for a potential quick kill. Popping Nebula right as you dive in will grant additional defense, as well as delivering a counterattack every time you take damage. Now for you DPS out there, if you see us Gunbreakers landing a big ult on multiple players, do not be afraid to use your ultimate to combo. A Gunbreaker's ultimate, combined with big ults such as the Dragoons, will evaporate entire teams within seconds. What also makes the ultimate amazing is the fact you can be 1 to 2 players down and still turn the tide of a battle completely in your favour. So what are your strengths as a Gunbreaker? Well, first up, thanks to the utility of Draw and Junction, you have more playstyle options presented to you than the other tanks. You can be the main tank, the first battle opener, a much needed DPS, or the God-sent healer needed in a pinch. And as I previously mentioned, the buff to the ultimate has now increased your success rate and survivability. Gunbreakers can hold their own against other tanks and easily burn them down. Thanks to having 2 charges of your dive skill, you can help your team flanking the backline with little to no effort. You have an element of surprise with your DPS junction. You can very quickly deal large amounts of burst damage. Even when facing players of experience, while you may not be able to get the full benefits of the ultimate, many times it will force out their CC to halt your advance, and even their guards. While powerful, the Gunbreaker is far more limited in their defensive skills, being unable to hold on and stall to the degree of the Paladins and the Dark Knights. You will quickly find as a Gunbreaker, CC is your worst enemy, so do not be surprised when the entire enemy team CCs you into the ground while you are using your ultimate. A aggressive playstyle comes with playing Gunbreaker, and therefore it can be rather easy to overextend. So being aware of players and your surroundings is important, as you have less room for error as the other 3 tanks. When it comes to map rotations, be it frontline or crystalline conflict, the Gunbreaker can shine on any map, with of course natural cover and combined areas being your greatest ally. Fighting in the open areas can make things more difficult for you against range classes, but with your defensives and your ability to close the gap, this range advantage will not last long. And that is really everything you need to know for picking up the Gunbreaker. I did not go into skill rotations this time around, most of it is self-explanatory, and how you would use certain actions will depend on your junction and the situation. For my final tips and tricks, firstly, if you have previously been playing any other tank, do not try to play Gunbreaker the same way. Each tank have their very own playstyle, and trying to play the Gunbreaker as a paladin per se will very quickly get you into a bad situation. Try to plan your move before engaging in battle, or be ready to follow your team in when they single out a target. Practice patience. Holding off until your cooldowns have reset before going in will improve your chance immensely. The Gunbreaker does have some flanking potential, but do not overcommit, play where you know you can escape, or rush to the aid of your team. Never hold onto your ultimate for an extended period of time, you will obtain these very often. You can shut down battles before they truly begin, speeding up the fights and limiting how much time your opponents have to charge their limit gauge. Do not overcommit to using just one junction. While in lower ranks it will often work, you will often find when you climb the ranks you may need to switch more often. Or if you find you're having more trouble than you should on one, switching it up could be the boost you need. And as I have said, you can very easily take on the other tanks, so do not be afraid to take them on. Just remember not to tunnel vision. Forcing them out of the battle is enough. Then you yourself can commit to another target with your team. And my final tip is aimed more specifically at crystalline conflict. Do not go in with the mindset of using the ultimate to its fullest potential. Use your best judgment on the situation around you. You will often find landing 1 to 3 stacks, followed by the stun, is far more than enough to win the battle. Kill a target, or keep yourself alive. And there you have it. Everything you need to know to start your journey as a Gunbreaker. Thanks again for clicking on today's video. If you enjoy my style of content, consider subscribing. My next goal is to reach 400 subscribers. Happy hunting, and I'll see you all in the next one.